I think we're back on Facebook. What's going on, everybody? This is George, and if you're seeing this, if you're hearing this, welcome to my base chat. This is the second time I'm doing a live video. If you guys have any questions, hey, what's going on, Mike? Welcome to you. What's going on, Brenda? Good seeing you, Carlos. Hey, there is everybody. Well, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you're all well. What's going on, Carlos? Let me know if you guys hear me well enough. I tried to turn the volume of the mic up considerably, and yeah, just let me know what the sound, what the volume is, and all of that. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're all hanging in there as good as or as well as can be expected. I am sometimes not even willing to scroll through my feed or look at the news anymore because it's not great. Nevertheless, excellent. So the sound is good. So all of the adjustments work. Excellent. Thanks so much, Carlos. Um, but as I was thinking about what I said last week, as I was kind of tuning off, and I said, we only have each other. And I really do mean that. We only have each other. So be there for one another, be cool with one another, be kind, and just, stay inside and stay home. This thing is pretty deadly. But uh, also, if you are staying home and you do want to, what's going on, Dennis? I'll see you. Hey, Stephen. If you are staying at home and you want to get away from it all, join me and come to George's Base Chat and post something and check out the postings that we have here. A lot of the members have posted videos. I've posted a bunch of live videos, sort of sound clips where I'm recreating sounds from various recordings. Um, and I encourage everyone to do the same. This is your place just as much as it is mine. That's why I started this. And I'm by no means the only one on the internet and all over social media. So, in an effort to be there for one another, this is my attempt to do that, in doing that. Hey, now we have a lot of people. What's going on, Jason, Cherise? Hey, Renate, hoffe es geht dir gut. Hashim, what's going on, my man? All right. So here we are. Hashim actually left a comment on one of my posts with a question that I think is a pretty good question. It's something that is is interesting to keep in mind. And the question was, how do you prepare for a world tour? Which is an incredible question because number one, when do you ever get to play a world tour? That is, so let's take it a step further and figure out how do you get to a world tour. And as a freelancer, uh, there's that is a difficult task, and that's a pretty difficult and pretty mighty goal that you set yourself. Nevertheless, I think it is possible. I think it is, as with everything, it has a lot to do with networking. It's had a lot to do with your skills. Let's not forget that. The I got this great advice from, if I can only remember his name, isn't it Jeff Clayton, I believe, brother of John Clayton. John Clayton is a bass player. Jeff Clayton is a saxophone player, and at the time he was playing alto sax. And what's going on, Cherise? I see you. Um, and at the time he was playing alto sax. I was in the rhythm section back in Vienna at a club called Jazzland, um, playing with various leaders. I guess the rhythm section was put together by the club, and then they hired a leader to come in and play with the local rhythm section, which sometimes included me, and sometimes it was a completely different band. Nevertheless, Jeff Clayton had this advice for me, and that was to work on your sound. So, in order to get to that step where you are being called for a world tour, whatever that might entail, whatever that might mean, um, first things first, work on your sound. Sound is everything. Sound is your calling card. Um, sound includes the notes you're playing. It includes your rhythmic. Um, what's the word I'm looking for? Your rhythmic correctness. Your rhythmic intention. Um, it is your equipment, of course. It is your influences. It is everything. So sound is everything. Um, and Yeah, I include everything in sound. Um, f- I'm totally oversimplifying it, but otherwise it'll be way too long as a topic. So get your sound together, um, and then how do you prepare for if you do get that call? Because there are many steps that lead up to that call. I believe I haven't done a world tour as such. I've done a world tour with symphonic orchestras, but I've never done a world tour with an artist. I would love to do one. Nevertheless, there are several steps that lead up to that situation. And I am not going to go into all of them, but I will say when I was hired to do tours overseas, for 3 to 4 months at a time, going to Southeast Asia, going to Japan, going to Europe. Um, of course, pack light. If you can, don't carry unnecessary stuff with you, and that goes for that goes for l- luggage just as much as drama up here. Don't carry any of that stuff with you. Yes, rhythmic precision. Thank you, Dennis. I'm so glad that you guys are here to fill in the words that are not coming to me. Um, so yeah, make sure that you don't carry any unnecessary luggage with you. I think that's really important, and it does help, and it does, put you in the frame of mind that all the steps that led up to a major tour, right? All those steps are, or you're already in the right frame of mind because you've gone through all of those steps. You've done the networking. You've learned the music. Your equipment is top notch. You're keeping yourself together. All of that, and uh, and then you need to take that with you on the road. You need to basically leave a lot of stuff behind. Um, be prepared for that. I'm speaking metaphorically and also realistically. I mean, you're gonna, you're not going to see your family for a long time. You need to prepare for that mentally, emotionally, financially. Um, you are not going to be in your surrounding. You need to make sure that your head is on straight what that is concerned. uh, Growing up in Vienna, I have seen a lot of acts come through Vienna, and not necessarily extremely close, but I have definitely seen enough and experienced enough where uh, the stories all of a sudden grow really fast. This guy was drunk, and that guy was drunk, and this guy was caught over here, and that guy was caught over there. And, you know, on the one hand, I do get it. I love this life, and I love the tour life just as much as everybody. But very often, that kind of behavior, and again, I am not accusing anybody of anything, and I'm also not condemning anybody of anything. This is not what I'm here for. All I'm saying is that um, if your head is not in the right place, very often it shows itself by acting out, by getting into trouble and all of that. Um, get your head in the right place, and you can still party, your brains out, and you can still have fun, and you can still experience uh, things that you otherwise would not experience. Okay, so I'm all for it. Nevertheless, get your head together first, and then go out and play it. The other thing that I just want to say to that point of a world tour, because let's also not forget, when I when I started getting into music, there were still acts that did world tours. I don't know whether we have that many acts anymore who have the financial backing to do world tours. Okay, to have that term in and of itself is perhaps a little um, old. That's entirely possible. um, so what do you see instead of that? You see smaller engagements. You see, you don't necessarily see bands, stay out for a year or for 6 months or for 3 months or anything like that. You see them go in and out basically for a week, and then come back, and you see them going out for 2 weeks and then coming back. And that can be just as rewarding. So if it's not the big world tour, if it's a tour of what did I do? I did a tour of Spain, okay, which was a week to 10 days, playing different venues. That's a great gig. Okay, let's not, if everything works out for you, if the money works out for you, if the music works out for you, all of that, that is a good situation. That is something to build on, and that's certainly something to, in my opinion, to say yes to, even if it's not the big world tour. So those are my 2 cents on that subject. Dennis Farelli wants to know, did did you bring your upright on tour? If you used rental basis, how did you adjust to a new instrument at each stop? That's a good question. It's very base specific. Yeah, at first, before 9/11, I brought my own upright. And after 9/11, I stopped doing that. Because obviously travel has gotten very expensive, and traveling with an upright is really difficult. There's just no two ways about that. So in the meantime, if I do go out of town, be it nationwide or internationally, I ask for a base to be rented for me. And I usually, my specifications are very, very broad. It's a 3/4 size upright bass. I don't care what the strings are. I don't care what the pickup is. I do ask for a pickup. Um, I also need to tell you that I have trained classical music, and I've played for many, many years almost exclusively with a bow on the upright. My left hand is pretty strong, and my right hand is no slouch either. So I'm not really worried about whether the strings are the right thing, whether the string action is correct, or any of that. It's basically, as long as the bass holds together, I will play it. And it's a funny point, because I am more concerned about uh, the electric bass guitar, than about the upright bass. With the upright bass, I always feel like, okay, well, it might be the classical training, um, but I'll get the sound out, and usually I do. It's very, very seldom. So far, I remember right now off the top of my head one time where I was like, I cannot play this bass. There's just no, there was nothing coming out. It's another whole nother story. Nevertheless, when it comes to electric bass, there I am a lot more specific. Uh, it's the instrument that's closer to my heart, and I enjoy my basses a lot. I enjoy the way they are set up a lot. After years of playing the upright bass, there is a certain strength in my right hand, especially that leads me to dig in a little harder. So I need to adjust. That's just not going away anymore. I need to adjust for that when playing electric bass. Yeah, I see a lot of people joined us again. What's going on? James Turner, Ruben, hey, Chris Rogers, Gary, nice to see you back. Ryan Burke, Bernard Grobman, Leo, what's going on? Oliver, wie geht's? Wow, thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is really nice. Ask Dennis Ferrelli wants to know whether I ask for a D or an E flat neck. This is kind of embarrassing because I have no idea what kind of neck my bass is. Learning bass in Vienna, we don't think about these things, to be honest. It's you learn by muscle memory, and if anything, I don't remember that I was ever encouraged to think about any kind of pivot point on the neck and keep that in mind. This basically you use your ear and you use your muscle memory. If it's a 3/4 size bass, of course, there's a certain, especially in the half position and first position, certain way you have to stretch your hands. And if it's like a 7/8 size bass, which is bigger, you have to stretch a little more. But that's all I can think of. I never um, I do remember my teacher, the great Johannes Auersberg, the late and great Johannes Auersberg, kind of telling me, listen, don't worry about these things too much. You need to play, you need to use your ears, you need to blend, you need to use your muscle memory, you need to be in touch with the instrument and at the same hear yourself and at the same time hear again. This was studying for to be an orchestral player, so you need to hear yourself and you need to hear your section, and in the larger context you need to hear the entire orchestra. So yeah, I don't ask for a D or an E flat neck. I ask for a 3/4 size upright bass and with a pickup, and I bring my own bow. That I do because I play a German bow. If I need a bow on the gig, yeah, I bring my own bow. So I hope that answers the question. It's you know, hey, what's going on, Alexis? Hey, Eugen, hoff's geht dir gut. Um, yeah, my friend Eugen from Vienna says that it's always good to keep some extra money around for the sound guy. I mean, it's true. It's be good to your sound guys. And hey, guilty as charged. I am not. I get along with the sound department very well, be it at the theater or anybody else with whom I work for a longer period of time. But I am not easy on them. I am stubborn as a mule. Uh, I know that about myself, and I will not uh, have it any other way, to be honest. I know how to produce a good sound. Um, and of course, my my philosophy behind all of that is, listen, I'm giving you the best possible sound, so you just take it and leave me alone. And that sometimes that works. Sometimes, operating word being sometimes. But yeah, it's, I mean, also, truth be told, and without any joking, yes, there is a lot of give and take, and there is or I shouldn't say a lot of give and take, there is some give and take. And I guess the longer you are in the business, the more experience you have, the better you are in finding your sound and being able to convey that via instrument, via amplifier, via microphone, pickup, whatever the means might be, um, and get that out, and also speak the language that the sound guys do, meaning know what it means when when they talk about frequencies, when they talk about impedance, impedance. Sorry, um, when they talk about volume, feedback, and all of these like technical terms. You need to know these terms. That's part of being a freelancer and being a professional, in my opinion. Um, and same. What's going on, Richard J? Or gals? Alexa says, or ladies? Yes, absolutely. And we had uh, female A1, A2 at Ain't Too Proud right now, who really fantastic. I mean, so be good to your sound people. Let me call it this way. Let me say it this way because that is actually a very very important point. Um, and you don't see that many. You don't see that it's still very much a good old boys club, um, which is not okay and really shouldn't be. Nevertheless, uh, yeah, I've had great experiences with sound people who were accommodating to me being as stubborn as a mule, and after some time, there's a mutual respect, there's a mutual understanding, there's a lot of love um, that comes from us doing what we love to do. So I hope that explains what's going on. Wie geht's, Wolfgang? Uh, Richard J wants to know what socks I'm wearing. Um, I'm wearing a pair that you sent. I'm not flexible enough, so I'm not going to show them. But trust, it's one of yours. There's there's also one thing that I wanted to put out there to whoever is watching, and this is not necessarily base related, but this is George related. So as some of you probably know, there's a hashtag going around called hashtag George's Socks, and that was started by the lady who sits next to me at the theater, Melissa Tong, who's one of our violin players, who noticed that one day I was wearing my Darth Vader Star Wars socks, and it happened to be May 3rd, or, and there's the whole thing, May the 4th be with you. It's Star Wars nerds. And yes, I'm a fan. I'm not a Star Wars nerd, but I am a fan. So I had a pair of socks, and of course, unbeknownst to me, I was wearing them on a date that was close to that particular date, to May 4th. And she started this hashtag called George's Socks. Took pictures of it, and in the meantime, it has grown to a handful of pictures on Instagram um, that all have the moniker George's Socks, and good friends like Richard J. Alexander, the famous director, have contributed to hashtag George's Socks by sending me socks that I wear, and I give them a shout out on Instagram or whatever the social media platform is. So I encourage everyone to send me socks. I will wear them and I'll take a picture. I'll give you a shout out on social media. I am also trying to make this into a fundraising or basically a donation raising endeavor that will hopefully provide socks for homeless shelters here. I am in New York City, in Brooklyn to be precise. So the idea is to, and I haven't figured this out yet, if somebody out there has a good idea, please let me know, because I am trying to get to a solution what that is concerned. Basically, um, you send me a pair of novelty socks, I'll wear them, and at the same time you donate a package of, I don't know, 5 tube socks or whatever it might be, to a homeless shelter. And you can either send them to me, and I'll distribute them to the homeless shelter, or directly to the homeless shelter. I haven't figured it out yet. If anybody has a good idea, as a good way how to put that together, I think that would be um, a really cool thing to do, and much needed, because you know, I've never been homeless in my life, but I can imagine that it might not be, that it's just terrible, and you know, clothing is one of our necessities. um Even something that we don't, you know, we who are not homeless don't never think about, socks. You know, sometimes that's difficult. So if I can do something to help out what that is concerned, using um hashtag George's socks, and also making fun of myself, because if you can't laugh at yourself, what's it all about, really? um so this is an idea that I had. So yeah, Eugen, lass mich wissen. Yeah, Jason Langley, I did wear the Vegas socks. A couple of my friends have already sent me, so I got socks all the way from Las Vegas. I got some from Richard. Where are you? You're in Florida. Forgive me if I forget the exact city. I got socks from the Bay Area. So all of these have already been worn. The posts are on my Instagram page if you want to see them, or if you want to just do a search on hashtag George's socks. There they are. You know, some of them have made it all the way to the Tonys, which was a lot of fun. Because when do you ever get to wear sushi socks? Try saying that 10 times fast. Um, so when do you ever get to wear sushi socks on the Tonys? It's just fun. Let's just have fun. So, but all of this to say that, yeah, George's Socks is a real thing, and I'm trying to make it into a fundraising effort, with the goal of providing free socks to homeless shelters, and people who are living in them, or who are using them for, you know, however long. Let's see if we have any other questions. Hey, check that up. Set up. Hashim says set up a 501 charitable LLC, Georgia Stocks Company. Okay, 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 okay. Okay, well, I can certainly look into that, Hashim. Thanks for the input. That sounds like something that I could totally do. Um, there was one thing that I also wanted to talk about. And it kind of ties in with what Hashim asked earlier about the world tour. The world tour is, you know, is this ambiguous entity, or how should I call it? This wish, um, that we all have, you know, that all freelancers have. And as a musician, if you are a musician, you are 100% a freelancer, whether you want to admit to that or not. Whether you have a steady gig, whether you have a teaching gig, whether you have any kind of gig where you're on a payroll or not, you are 100% a freelancer. Not everybody likes to see themselves that way, but I happen to be one of those people who are very proud in being a freelancer, and making my living that way. Um, Having said that, there is the common misconception that um, freelancers get hired, and then we kind of are beholden to whoever hires us. And that gives the entity, who I'm not going to name any names because it's too many, basically, in a 30-year career so far. But that gives that supposedly gives that entity any kind of power over you, that is being, you know, that proverbial Damocles, sword of Damocles, that's being held over your head, with, okay, well, you know, the check is not going to be there, or the pay is going to be late, or guess what, we're not paying you for this, but then we'll pay you for something else. But don't you dare say anything about it, because you're a freelancer, and therefore you need this connection, you need this money, you need this gig, etc., etc. My thoughts on that are, and it does tie in with the world tour, with the idea of playing a world tour or playing a tour. Um, It kind of also ties in with a question that we got, or that I got last week from Mike Rio. What kind of gigs do you not take? If anybody holds that over you, I mean, however we react to situations like that is highly individual. Nevertheless, my 2 cents on the situation, or on a situation like that, are that I've been in this business for 30 years now, and for a solid, I'm going to say 25 years, I have survived by being a musician only. Um, I've survived before I met that entity that's trying to give me a hard time about money they owe me, which is ridiculous. Um, I'm going to survive after I've stopped communicating with that entity. So, in other words, as a freelancer, you're not beholden to whoever pays you. You have made your life, you have come this far basically, and you're going to go further with or without people who might be bad actors and who might take advantage of you and not pay you. That is something that's a fear and a situation that every freelancer faces at some point or another, and every be it a musician or in any other job really. Um, so that's my 2 cents on on that uh, topic. And if you're watching this and you owe me money, pay me. What's up? Anyway, let's go down the other questions. Carlos Mena, what kind of delay and loop pedal would you recommend? Ooh, that's a good question. Um, Loop pedal, what do I use? I use the Ditto looper. That is my that's my loop pedal, and I really enjoy it a lot. I haven't quite figured out how to use it in a live setting, although you would be able to do that, and people are doing that. But I love it for here at home. I love it for looping myself, listening back to what because very often you don't record yourself, or it's more of an effort to record yourself. So a looping pedal is really good for those kind of exercises, for those kind of workouts on the bass. Um, I highly recommend it, and I use the Ditto looper. There is this the big one that I have, and there's also um, a smaller one now. But just to I can also, let me bring it up. So this is mine. This is the Ditto looper. Um, I really enjoy it. There's this version, which is the bigger one, and then there's a smaller version as well, which I believe does exactly the same thing. It's just a newer uh, casing or something. And what delay is concerned, I don't have a delay pedal, so I wouldn't know. Um, I Whatever sounds good to you is good. Uh, that's my whole philosophy when it comes to pedals. I don't know how many of you guys have seen the videos I posted earlier this week. Those were just attempts of mine to recreate. Hey, I see you, Imani. Welcome to the chat. Um, those were attempts of mine to recreate certain sounds on recordings that I have listened to and that I like. There's one from Alice in Chains, the song Wood, which sort of a metal sound. Um, there is this song Shut Up and Dance from Walk the Moon, I believe is the name of the band. Never heard of them before, but I love the song. And interestingly enough, it was a pop rock song. I believe really prominent maybe 2018, um, 2017, 2018. And sure enough, it had distorted bass in it. And that in and of itself is makes my ear go, what's going on? So that really caught my eye, or caught my ear, I should say. And the third example was an example from a song called Natty Dread by Bob Marley and the Wailers, and Family Man Barrett was the bass player, the original bass player on it. And I'm a huge Bob Marley and the Wailers fan. I'm a huge fan of Family Man Barrett. I had the incredible opportunity. Hey, what's going on, Tony? I see you. Corey Schutze, welcome. Klaus, wie geht's? Alles Gute. Yeah, I am a big fan of Family Man Barrett. I think his name is Aston Family Man Barrett, and I had the great opportunity to work on a workshop, which is the form, or which is a production of a musical show before it gets to an off-Broadway, out of town, or Broadway production. So I had the good fortune of working on a workshop of a show that dealt with a specific point in time in Bob Marley's life. I believe early 70s. The, there was an assassination attempt on him in Jamaica, and he basically had to take his family and move from Jamaica to, I believe they moved to London. Um, I'm hazy on the details, so if somebody knows the history, please correct me. Nevertheless, the show was about that particular time, and I thought that that was a great idea to take it and put it into, the confinement of this particular instance. Um, Nevertheless, or and as it was, I had to learn a lot of music from Bob Marley and the Wailers, and I always had an appreciation for it. But man, oh man, once I had to go deep, it was just the floodgates opened up, and you realize that you learn these songs, or you hear these songs on the radio, and they sound super easy. They're like, they make you feel good, and all of that, and all of what you're feeling, all of what you're hearing is produced. Okay. And I'm not talking about producing as in record produced, it's produced by the band. Those are all decisions, and the outcome of decisions and decision making processes that have produced this particular sound, this particular emotion, in the audience. All right. And that is an incredible feature. That is an incredible feature. If you, as a musician or as a freelancer, what I talked about earlier, if you ever get to that point, that is just, that, in my opinion, is as good as it gets, because your means of communications are crystal clear, and that is something that I at least strive for. So, yeah, that was one of the examples that I posted earlier this week. I really enjoyed putting these videos together. I greatly enjoy, going deep on these sounds. And as I said already earlier today, um, or I started off by saying this: your sound is your calling card. That is everything. Your sound, your rhythmic precision. Thank you, Dennis. your your phrasing, your melodies, your um, scales or chords. Whatever you use for that, your sound is your calling card. So be specific with your sound, and in an attempt to be specific, I like going deep and trying to figure out, okay, well, this is something. How did they get to this particular sound? How did Alice in Chains, get to this sound? It sounds great to me, but what is it? It's the same as doing a transcription. At least that's how I see it. It's the same as doing a transcription in and how did why does Oscar Pettiford sound the way he does? Why does Ray Brown sound the way he does? That's it's the same curiosity that leads me down that path basically. Um, tschüss Eugen, bis zum nächsten Mal. So yeah, that's I think that just about wraps it up for today. We've spent another 40 minutes. The clock tells me 40 minutes together. I want to thank you all for being part of this. I enjoy this very much. I hope you guys get some information out of it. I am always here for you if you have questions, if you have uh, any kind of posts that you wish to share with this group, please do. This is an open forum. This is, as I said, and I will keep repeating this. This is as much for you as it is for me. And take care of each other. After all, we only have each other. So thank you all for joining me, and I'll talk to you soon. All right, later.